129 because there's a big old picture on 128. Basically, these events, all the things that they do, the workshops and all that type of stuff, do more than commemorate what Harlem has been. They attempt to present contemporary Harlem to residents and visitors alike as a community continuing to perpetuate a culture that produced a quintessentially American music. But they also attempt to change the way the community is identified, and that changes occur when the museum's patrons find themselves feeling a part of the community as they attend these events, etc., etc., etc. And all that type of stuff, he says, this is the last couple of paragraphs, that is fundamentally rhetorical because, as Johnson puts it, the meaning of a thing is its consequences for experience, how it cashes out by way of experience, either actual or possible experience. So there is more going on in these experiences than just these experiences. Other rhetorical experiences can follow from their influence, and that is sort of moving on and expressing things and changing things, etc., etc., etc. It's all a long process. But those are the three things that I think are perhaps the most important ideas from that second section, which is really just a description of the whole National Jazz Museum of Harlem. Is not necessarily just a normal museum, but all these series of experiences that lead to new identities and new community and all that type of stuff. The final lessons from Clark, and this is again what I've sort of teased out from the writing here. Number one, some places of public memory have the rhetorical intention of creating rhetorical experiences for tourists or visitors that do the work of influence. And so oftentimes museums will want you to experience certain things in different ways. There's a difference, in other words, in perhaps a carriage ride in Charleston versus going to a series of exhibits inside a place, or going to the gala tours. I mean, there are different things. When people think, for instance, if you go to the gala tours and you were taught how to make some of those baskets, that's a lot different than just reading something about the history of all that type of stuff in a museum. And so some places of public memory create these experiences intentionally, in part perhaps to help you understand, but also to maybe give you a new understanding, forging you a new identity, create a different shared sense of community. Two, the rhetorical experience can create a new identity and new community for tourists. That's what I just said. Three, that this is a jazz experience is very important because jazz is sort of a process of ensemble that teaches civic attitudes. And so there's something very, very important, I think, here that Clark touches on about this being all about jazz. And so I'll let you sort of read that. That doesn't mean I don't think that other things, that's the only type of museum that could be a rhetorical experience. But there's something about jazz that teaches civic lessons, I think, or offers civic attitudes that's particularly interesting. And then for rhetorical experiences like the one in Harlem is epidictic rhetoric, which I thought was really interesting. That's perhaps, I think, the most interesting point of the entire chapter. That is, these experiences are rhetorical, but they serve as epidictic rhetoric. I'll let you read more about that, but if you've taken any of my classes, epidictic rhetoric is one of the types of discourses or forms of discourses or forms of rhetoric that Aristotle talked about, the other being forensic and the other one being deliberative. And epidictic rhetoric is generally meant as sort of a ceremonial type of speaking that seeks to praise or blame and to give folks a renewed sense of identity within the present, to laud certain things, certain communal values, to fire folks up in a sense. Graduation speeches, eulogies, and all that. Well, you can't really get fired up in eulogies. Woohoo! Yeah! Grandma's dead. Let's party. It's a little bit different than that, I think. But still, even eulogies offer certain values about how we ought to live our lives. Eulogies are always for the living, not the dead. So take a look at that, but I think those are some really interesting points. What I will do next time, because I'm at 30 minutes, is to, only 10 minutes over my goal, I will give you some probes for our second tour, and we're sticking in Columbia. I'll let you take a look at that type of stuff in the syllabus, but I'll send you more stuff either later on tonight or tomorrow for our excellent tour. But please note that we will be applying some of this stuff from Chapter 3 to our tour tomorrow, which means no new reading. You can focus on catching up on your tweets and your blogs and your emails and the threaded discussions and all that type of stuff. Thank you. Take care.